Brought to you by businessblueprint.com.au.
From my mum's side of things, mum was a maths teacher. So again, probably as far away from entrepreneurial as you can get. School system, university, then back into the school system again. So didn't really do much more than that. But she was very much focused on teaching me about the numbers and the mathematics. So when I first started my business, she wanted to be involved somehow and give me some advice and share what she could. So we sat down one day and we sort of started looking at the business, not from a profit and loss perspective, but from the mathematics of business. Because most businesses, everyone focuses on the profit. But there's so many other factors that actually drive profit. And we sort of wanted to look at what are the mathematical formulas that actually go into that. So if you look at my terrible handwriting firstly. So from a profit perspective in any business, that's what the actual outcome we've got. Because with mathematics, the one thing Mum taught me was it's not just about the result, it's about the equation. So the variables and the functions that go into that equation that get you the answer. So she was very much about it, and some of your math teachers may have been the same, in that it doesn't really matter if you get the right answer, as long as you do the right working out and you get the formulas and that sort of stuff right, they give you half marks. So Mum was very much about that. So we were all about, okay, what is the equation? Because in business, profit's the outcome. That's what we're trying to achieve. But what are the inputs that actually affect the profit of a business? Because it really is all about that. It's about the things that go into the profit. Because so many people, they focus on the profit and loss statement. So they get their accounting team, their bookkeeper, to give them a monthly report of the profit and loss, which is a good start. And for those of you who don't do that, I really encourage you to make sure you get those numbers to know where you're at every single month. But the downside with looking at the profit and the profit only is you don't know what's going in to actually make that up. Because in mathematics, to get an equation to answer 20, there's a whole different ways it can happen. 2 times 10, 30 minus 10. So you don't know actually what's happening to actually drive the profit. So we actually started looking at that because it's all about inputs. And you can control an input, but you can't control an output. A saying I love to talk about, and it kind of correlates to what I said before, is that you can't conceive a baby. That's an output. All you can control is the mood lighting, the Barry White soundtrack, and some other key inputs. So that's all you can control is the inputs. The output's going to take care of itself. So I started to think, okay, if I want profit in my business, what are the things that go into that? So, obviously, most people say, oh, well, marketing. The more marketing I do, the more profit I'm going to make. And everyone focuses solely on the traffic and the marketing in their business. Now, if anyone on the side sort of can't see what I'm writing, I'll happily turn the board around at some point. Nothing really exciting right now, just some bad scribble. So I started to think, okay, with my mum, what are the things? What are the numbers? What is the equation that makes up profit? So I had a bit of a question mark there. And we started to look at this. And we discovered there's 7 key things, 7 key drivers or 7 levers that actually go in to your business. So there's 7 things I want to talk about today. Because if you actually have a framework, which is this 7 levers of business that I sort of use as my framework for my businesses, and you focus on that, you'll actually find out very quickly how your business can actually increase very, very easy from a profitability perspective. So what we'll actually do, we'll actually walk through some of these 7 levers and how they actually do affect a business. So the first thing from a business perspective, what actually drives profit? Well, obviously it's the amount of traffic coming into your business. That's the very first lever, is traffic. So traffic can take a number of forms. If you're a web-based business, that is the term everyone uses. It's the web visitors. That's the traffic you get to your business. In a real-world retail example, traffic's foot traffic. People walking into your store. How many actual people come into your actual place of business? If you're an accountant or you're doing some sort of service-based business, it's how many people actually come in and actually maybe pick up the phone or see some sort of advertising you're doing. That's their first interaction with your business. That's the traffic. We'll delve into that a little bit more. So that's the first thing. Second thing I consider is opt-ins. So the next lever that drives towards the profit of a business is the opt-ins. So if we put opt-ins down next. So from an opt-ins perspective, let's look at that. From an online perspective again, most businesses, if you're in the information marketing space, that I know a lot of you guys are in, the opt-ins are the subscribers. These are people who actually have opted into your sales funnel. They're taking that next step to actually transact with you. So that's your opt-ins. In a retail store environment, let's take a athlete's foot shoe store chain. they have a part of their sales mandate which is called the greet and seat rules. So they're all about getting people to sit down and try on the pairs of shoes. In a clothing retailer, it's people actually trying on a dress and going into a changing room. That's the opt-in. That's the next step that people actually take that gets closer to a sale. So how many opt-ins your business gets is really, really important. The next thing is conversions. This is actually the sales. So if we go, the third thing that actually affects the profit of your business is conversions. So I think that's pretty straightforward. It's people who actually open up their wallet, give you their credit card, and transact with you on some level. So that's really important to focus on. Once you've got conversions, the next actual driver, that part of the mathematical business equation, is average item price. So what's the average price of the items in your store, in your catalogue, online, offline, your services, whatever it might be. So if you go average, I'll just call dollar item. Number 5, the next thing that actually helps drive the profitability of your business is the average items per transaction. So how many actual items do people buy every transaction in your business? So average number of items per transaction. 6th equation, or part of the equation, is the average number of transactions in a particular period of time that you're focusing on. So if you're looking at this on a monthly basis, how many transactions do people do, that client do with you on a monthly basis, on an annual basis, whatever sort of period of time, I don't really care. You have to obviously look at this in a period of time. So you've got average transactions per period. And then the 7th driver towards profit of a business is your actual margins. So how much actual do you keep from a gross or a net perspective, depending on how you want to look at it. I won't get too granular in 45 minutes, but your general margins of your business. So that's the 7th input into the profitability of a business.
Brought to you by businessblueprint.com.au.